If you've been around for a little while, you've probably seen last year's Christmas special. I took a look at 5 decent Christmas games. Doing it again this year. Why? Why not? It was pretty fun last time around, and I have 5 more games to show off here. Probably won't do this again next year. Kinda running out of games. This time we'll be taking a look back at games that aren't decent. At all. So sit back, relax, get your favorite holiday drink, and let's dive into a handful of these less than stellar, yet incredibly obscure, Christmas video games. Xmas Maze for the Atari 8-bit family of computers. Not familiar with these machines, more of a Commodore guy, and man, this is not a great introduction to the platform. I probably picked one of the worst games. Xmas Maze is obviously an arcade-style maze game where you avoid enemies and collect objects. I can't tell what the enemies are, and Santa here is collecting candles. Yes, it's an Atari 400 game, and the graphics are going to be primitive, but this is the best they could have done. At least a better color palette could have been chosen. All we got is puke green and dull red. This game ain't pretty, but the gameplay could make up for it, and it doesn't. Santa controls so sluggishly. It feels like you have to press a key for a second and then he'll move, and it's not even that responsive. Sometimes inputs just straight up won't register, and the gameplay is entirely focused on timing moves, so it's a pretty bad mix. The level designs aren't interesting at all. With a glance at the screen, you can pretty much figure out exactly where to go. Each and every level is just a slog. Go up and down, back and forth, collecting candles and get to the end. The only difficulty is the aforementioned controls, which isn't a challenge, it's frustration. The bad controls could have been saved by a better game, but nope. Just a handful of levels and it repeats. Not even a single different enemy. Hell, I don't even know what these guys are supposed to be. So yeah, Xmas Maze is overall a bland, boring, and ugly game. So last year we took a look at the excellent Apple II Christmas game Ho Ho Ho. It was a really fun time and a must-play Christmas game. But this year we're gonna look at the bad Apple II Christmas game, Santa's Sleigh Ride. I love the Apple II visual style, but not the sound. This does not sound good. Hey Santa, you doing alright? You need to talk? This game is a side-scrolling shooter. Honestly, a pretty good genre for a Christmas game. Imagine if we got a Parodius-style shmup with Santa's sleigh and you dodge all sorts of Christmas objects. That would have been great, but this game is not that. Far from it. This has to be about the slowest shooter I've ever played. At least it controls nicely. Everything's responsive and quick. Except Santa and Rudolph. They just creep across the screen. You can literally count the pixels they travel across as they go. On top of that, the sprite is just way too big. A better route that could have been taken was to size down Santa, speed him up, and add more enemies. Still wouldn't be great, but the game probably would have not made it into this video that way. Anyways, the goal of the game is to deliver presents to chimneys. You know, like Santa. Speaking of Santa, it seems that his sleigh was made in South Carolina. I mean, what else would the SC stand for? Santa Claus? I don't think so. Also, I appreciate that they put the R on the side of Rudolph to inform the player that the reindeer was indeed Rudolph. See, the problem with Rudolph is that he doesn't have a defining feature to set him apart from the other reindeer. So it's good that they did this, and it helps out a lot. The way to get the most points is to launch the presents into the chimneys. You can also use Rudolph's photon beam to gun down satellites, but if you shoot a bird, you'll lose points. Hell, if you dare touch a bird, you'll lose points. But if you touch one of those satellites, you'll completely lose a life. So make sure to shoot or dodge those. One aspect of the game I kinda like is that you can control the presents as they're falling down. After firing one, you use the arrow keys to make it go faster or slower in either direction. At first when I was playing, I thought you could crash into the buildings and die, but the game doesn't really let you get to any point where you could touch any of the chimneys. I probably would have complained about the fact that you could go too far and called it bad game design, so I'm glad that they didn't read my mind 40 years into the future. Good on you, Bob and Al. But yeah, probably wouldn't want to play this game if I were you. While it had a lot of potential to be good, it just isn't. Santa is a massive hurt box, and it moves slower than grass growing. All these little gripes make it a boring Christmas game. I did have a little fun messing around with it, and as a conveyor of crappy Christmas computer games, this is probably something I'd like to own. It's obscure, therefore interesting to me. On a similar note, last year we took a look at a not-so-great Snowman game and its superior sequel. Remember when I mentioned that I liked Raymond Briggs' classic holiday book and film, The Snowman? Well, to my surprise, it got its own official licensed game. It was released on the Commodore 64, MSX, and ZX Spectrum. I'm gonna stick with the Commodore version. The C64 is probably my favorite computer of the three. Don't get me wrong. I love the MSX, and I hate the ZX Spectrum. Well, this game was originally made for the Speccy, and then converted to those two platforms. And apparently the Commodore one is the worst? But I don't care. I'm gonna be stubborn. Does the ZX Spectrum have a SID chip and actually good-looking colors? I didn't think so. Okay, this game has dull colors and it doesn't put the SID chip to good use. Karma's a bitch. Well, the title screen has a nice rendition of We're Walking in the Air. I love Commodore music. Starting up the game, you don't play as the Snowman. You're building him. You gotta collect the pieces of snow and drop them off on this platform. You're walking in the air, so if you get hit or fall off the platforms, you'll fall through the air and back into your bed. Could be worse. What plagues this game is just how touchy the controls are. To climb the blue pipe things, you have to be lined up pixel perfect. And when you're on the run with some enemies and get tripped up by the alignment of your feet, that's what we in the business call not fun. On top of that, the design of level 1 just is not the best. Especially in this bit. Since these tubes are both up and down, pretty much the only way to go left or right, you have to pay attention and inch the joystick so you'll be centered. Yikes. So yeah, maneuver around the level and collect the snow. Now once you beat a screen, a little jingle plays. Can you guess what it is? Maybe a repeat of We're Walking in the Air. A traditional Christmas song like Jingle Bells or Deck the Halls? Maybe even a brand new piece of music. Well, I'll let you listen for yourself. Yep, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Probably the worst song they could have chosen to represent building a snowman. Can't fault the game for that though. When I got here, I was dying of laughter. The game does get much worse after this though. As if it wasn't tedious enough with the first enemies, the next guys move a lot faster and kill you instead of just taking whatever items you have. This all wouldn't be an issue if the damn controls weren't so terrible. At least the power-up system is kinda cool. At the bottom you have a hunger meter, but by collecting items such as this radioactive turkey, that won't be an issue. Sometimes an item will grant you the ability to stun some enemies. It's just an audio cue that sounds like a bomb dropping, but a cool ability. Other times, an item will completely restore the hunger meter, and that's pretty nice. But yeah, power-ups can be fantastic, but if the rest of the game isn't, does that even matter? This is probably the best game in this video, but that isn't really saying all that much. Now, you could tell me to play the other versions because they're better, but I don't know who you are, and if you're talking to a pre-recorded video about 40-year-old Christmas video games, you probably forgot to take your meds. So before you grab that pill bottle, on the way, make sure you don't play The Snowman by Quicksilva on your Commodore 64. Because you might start talking to that too. Santaman by Dem Innovations. Dem didn't innovate because this game reeks. At first, this game is pretty promising. It's a callback to old arcade games and even has a little insert coin graphic despite this game being for MS-DOS. And as we all know, I love arcade games. First off, here's the sound. This game is completely silent. The programmer really couldn't have got some free sound effects or just some simple beeps? So put on your favorite Christmas music for this one. But if you're actually playing it, I don't think you took away the right message from this video. This game was originally considered for last year's video because it had so much potential, but fell flat too many times to be considered decent. This game plays most similar to old Nintendo stuff like Mario Bros. And Wrecking Crew. The premise is super weird. Santa has to scale the 9 floors of a building and on the way collect presents and parts of a bazooka to kill Batman. Like other bad Christmas games, it's slow. What a surprise. There's a speed increase power-up, but it would have been so much better if that was just the base speed. I mean, look at this. Gaze at this engaging gameplay. Yeah, that's probably my main gripe. The power-up system just straight up isn't fun. To beat levels, you have to kill each enemy, and to actually shoot your weapon, you have to grab the activator. And even then, that will only stun them. Then you have to grab the bazooka upgrade, and that will finally take out the enemies. Now, I get having to go around collecting stuff, Without that, there would be no objective of navigating through the levels. But this is so long and drawn out that it's a pain when you die and have to go back to the start. They didn't have to change anything, just increasing the pace would have been a substantial upgrade. As far as the level design goes, the first couple levels are pretty easy and fair. Then 3 is super hard, but the rest are pretty standard. The pacing is just all over the place, and for a game that's supposed to harken back to classic arcade titles, you better have it be on point or else it can get extremely frustrating. On a more positive note, for what little text there is, I found it kinda enjoyable. Up in the corner is a little status for Santa, and while a few of his lines are pretty cheesy, I found them somewhat charming. Okay, back to negativity. Possibly the worst part about this game is that I can't even beat it. No, I'm not a Kotaku writer. Trust me on this one. Take a look at level 7. What am I supposed to do here? Santa can't jump. If he falls off a platform, there's no little air boost or anything. In some levels, by pressing space, you can activate a moving platform, and there is one here. Logically, you would think it would come down so I can get up there, right? It just goes up a tiny bit. I pretty much spammed every button on every pixel I could, and nothing happened. So what am I supposed to do here? This game is super obscure, so I can't look up anything. The only way I could beat this game is if the guy who made it left a comment on this video explaining what to do. And frankly, I'd be more concerned about how he'd respond to how I just reviewed his game. So yeah, if you want to play a game you can never finish, play Santaman. But if you want a fun arcade-style game, this ain't it. Santa Claus no Takarabako is a useless piece of shit, and I'll tell you why. Translating to Santa Claus's treasure chest, it's a digital Christmas card designer akin to something like the Jingle Disc. Now, normally this wouldn't slide, but here's the catch. It's on the Famicom Disk System. Why? You can't even print out your card. What is the point? Why bother? Well, I did bother, and here's my experience. In the editor, you can customize the message, choose which music to play, and which backdrop to use, and even edit the Santa. I chose the remix of Jingle Bells, and the other songs are pretty solid. I mean, this game was developed by a company called Music Plan Ltd. They gotta know what they're doing. 40 minutes later, and here's my card. Beautiful, isn't it? The character creator is extremely slow. Like, I wasted 30 minutes on that jumping jack snowman. And for what? Back in the day, and even now, a digital Christmas card that can't be sent to anybody is beyond useless. Well, there is a bit more to this disc. Party games! Yay! 4 to choose from. All gambling themed. Nothing says the holiday season like virtual debt. This better be great. Game number 1, Bingo. You press A and it picks a random number. A little jingle is played and that's it. Originally, this game came with all the necessary items to play, but why would you need a whole ass video game console to read numbers for you? This next game is just as pointless. Roulette. Well, this might be considered slightly more practical. Not everyone has a roulette wheel, but they aren't too much. You ever play roulette? It's a good game. Play it on Christmas with your Famicom Disk System? Me neither. So next up is slots. This is as bare bones as a slot game can get. A slot machine video game that is bare bones. Press say and hope for the best. Okay, finally, we have the absolute best game ever, poker dice. Do you know what it does? It rolls dice. This entire game rolls dice. Bingo. Yeah, I guess it's more convenient. Roulette kinda makes sense. Slot machine, well, super lame. The average guy doesn't have a slot machine. But oh boy, poker dice. Who doesn't own dice? This game only succeeds if you're a Christian in 80s Japan who's a video game nerd who has a Famicom disc add-on with friends who also like video games, throwing a casino-themed Christmas party, and you lost your bingo set, roulette spinner, and dice. I'm not Japanese, but apparently this has happened enough to warrant Data East to publish a game for this. And honestly, I can't help but absolutely love the game for that. This is just so absurd and unnecessary. There isn't a single game on the Famicom disk system, or really any retro home console, that is quite like this. Virtual Christmas card maker with a sprite editor, plus Magnavox Odyssey level video games. This game is just so stupid, man. And hey, if you want to spread the holiday cheer this season, maybe get old Uncle Meebug boxed copy of this game and send it to my P.O. box.
Couple.
Well, that was 5 more Christmas games. Don't play them. I hope you had a jolly good time looking through these pieces of seasonal software. I'd like to take some time to thank all of you for your support throughout this year. I started the year off with only a couple hundred subscribers, and right now I have over 4,000. I rebooted my channel, collaborated with FrameRaider again, and my Scott Pilgrim video became a smash hit. I now have a wonderful Discord community and have made so many friends along the way. Doing YouTube has improved my life, and it's all thanks to you. I love making videos that will entertain and enrich the days of others. While this video is on the short side, don't worry, next month's video is extra special, and you won't want to miss it. Have a Merry Christmas. I'd wish you a Happy Hanukkah, but that ended the 18th. Happy Festivus for the rest of us. Hope your Kwanzaa is filled with joy. Whatever you celebrate, make sure you have a wonderful time. I'm Amiiben, and I'll see ya in 2021.